At this stage in your life, your body is going to make a lot of changes. I had to learn to accept my flaws, accept my mistakes. It's okay to get a no because there's a yes out there somewhere else. I didn't realize for a long time that I didn't trust myself, especially when it came to decisions that I made. Hey, it's Nika Smith, and welcome back to the Great Big Life TV, where we talk about all things midlife transition. Today, we are going to talk about 5 things I started doing in my 40s. The last video, and if you haven't seen it, check it out. I'm going to put the link right here. I talked about 5 things I stopped doing. So now I'm going to talk about what have I implemented? What have I changed? What have I done differently? And certainly some of the things that I do, but definitely how I think. So pay close attention because there may some things that you might pick up or process a little bit more and decide that you want to add to your life and do differently now that you're in your 40s or approaching your 40s. But before we dig in, make sure you go into my description and click on the Midlife Transition Checklist. This is going to help you if you're in a state of paralysis or limbo, trying to figure out what to do and where to go next. This checklist will help you so much. So go ahead, go in my description, click that button, sign up to get that checklist. All right, let's get started. Let's dig in, y'all. So I'm going to start from 5 to 1. I'm going to tell you the number one thing that I've started doing, but I'm going to start with number 5. And number 5 is no longer being afraid to get a no. Like I look for no. And it sounds strange, but I'm okay with being told no because being told no in the past was like a failure to me. And I didn't want to carry that on into the rest of my life because what I learned was that when I've been told no or not given an opportunity or whatever it is, it usually does 2 things. One is that it lets me know that maybe there's room for improvement for me and that it's for a recovering perfectionist. I need to hear no, right? When necessary. And I have to understand the difference between a no that makes sense and a no that doesn't. But since I think I do, I will go ahead and just say I probably needed to get that no or that rejection. Hey, what I learned was it's okay to get a no because there's a yes out there somewhere else. May not be immediate, may not be today, may not be next month, may not be in the yes that I actually want until I at that time, but when I get it, it's what I needed. So I'm not afraid to hear no. I'm not afraid of rejection. I'm not afraid of like going after something and asking for something and someone telling me no. And that's something that I've added to it, just asking. Like I'm gonna ask. All you can do is tell me no. And I say that all the time to my friends. All I can do is tell me no. Like, well, I don't know, I'm not gonna die if they tell me no. Right? And so that's something I've just implemented. Like, I'm not afraid of that. I'm not worried about that. If it's no, then fine. If it's yes, then great. Right? But if you use this idea of there's a yes somewhere else, it frees you up to think about the possibilities. It frees you up to know that this no means that there's something else greater for me or different for me or something I actually need, right? And sometimes a no can be, yeah, you can push forward. Yes, I need to maybe go a step further in asking, or if I do ask for this thing again, maybe now I can ask differently. But don't be afraid of no, and that's where I am. I'm not afraid of it anymore. Tell me no, because I know I got a yes coming up. Number 4 of the things that I've started doing in my 40s is accepting my body as it is. At this stage in your life, your body is going to make a lot of changes. Sometimes it's in weight gain, sometimes it's in hair growth, sometimes it's hair not growing where it used to grow. Sometimes it's in energy. Sometimes it is in ability to focus or not focus. Sometimes it's in drive and being motivated and learning how to accept where I am right now. Because when you are in this stage in your life and you're moving in that midlife phase and your body starts doing things that it's never done, it is very easy to reject yourself and to try to push harder and not really try to figure out what's happening to me. And it took me a while to get to that. When I was younger, I was always pretty thin. And then as life happened, and especially when the perimenopause came and menopause came, it's like, whoa, the things that I could do to lose weight or to, slim down, like they don't work anymore. I can stop eating and then 5 weeks later I could breathe and I'm back to, the same size that I was. And so being kind to myself and my body at whatever size that I am, I had to learn that and not reject myself, right? Because I think weight loss and those kinds of things are not just an external game. All of the things that you do, the exercising, the eating, the drinking the water, the eating the fruit, vegetables, all of the protein you got to take, all the supplements you got to take. It's not just that, it is an internal game. Being kind to yourself, right? Because when I'm more kind to myself, then I'll feed myself things nourishing. But if I don't have nourishing thoughts about myself or about my body, then I'm not going to really, treat it in a way or have, let me just say that I don't think, for me, I don't have longevity in keeping myself right that way because I'm not being nice to myself, right? For a lot of us, there are ailments that happen. You may be on certain medication and it makes your body change. It makes you, gain weight, those kinds of things. Like, still be kind to yourself, right? You're still you. Your body is different. You are in there, right? You're a soul and spirit, not just the external. So I'm not saying that to be unhealthy. I would never say that. Take care of your body, take care of yourself. It is your temple. But learning to accept, like, oh, I didn't know these changes were coming. I'm doing my best. However, I want to be able to accept where I am, right? In this body that I'm in, that I've been given, that I still have, right? So, number three, as we count our way up to number one, of the five things that I started doing in my 40s is being kinder and gentler to myself. If you watched the last video, I talked a little bit about being self critical, being perfectionistic, allowing myself to be defined outside of myself or valued rather outside of myself. And with that combination, that trifecta really leads to you not being very nice to yourself. If something doesn't go right, if there's a mistake that you made, if there's a decision that you made that didn't go well, or if you got a no, which I talked about earlier, then that was impacted not just my mood, but just how I saw myself. It impacted my identity, who I thought I was and how I was showing up, and just very self-critical and mean, quite frankly, to myself. And so if you're self-critical and mean to yourself, you're going to be self-critical and mean to other people, right? And so again, I had to learn to accept my flaws, accept my mistakes. And let me tell you something, you dealing with brain fog in your 40s, you're gonna make a whole lot more mistakes. And that was a doozy for me because I'm used to spelling all the words right and making sure all of the words end up in the sentence. Now I type so I'm going, if I type something out to you or anybody else, I'm gonna miss a word. I promise you. I'm gonna miss, like, how does this happen? What do you mean? I'm gonna miss a word. So what I had to do is just be kind to myself, accept myself. One of the phrases that I use quite often is I am doing my best. And I use that especially on days where I feel like I'm overwhelmed. There's too much happening and I'm not doing things the right way. I'm not getting the results I want, or I've made a mistake. And I have to, instead of beating myself up, say to myself, I'm doing my best. And that's helpful because I really am doing my best. Like in this moment, this is the best that I have. This is the best that I can do. And that's for me to tell myself. And eventually I just started saying it out loud to other people when maybe I'm just kind of frustrated. I'm talking to a friend like, girl, I'm doing my best. Or even at work, I'm doing my best. Like if something happened, I made a mistake. I think I made a mistake spelling a colleague's name on like a really important, I misspelled her name. And another colleague, just said, hey, this was misspelled. And, kind of told me like, like I would feel bad if it were me. And I totally understood that. But it also was a moment for me like, I'm doing my best, like it was so much happening in that time that I had to remind myself, like, you did your best, you're doing your best. I did reach out to the colleague and just say, hey, I apologize. And she was fine. But it's one of those things where I could have like kind of taken that, constructive criticism and just like let that just kind of overflow into something else and just have to remind myself, like, you're not how you used to be. You're not 35 and got all of the letters and all of the things right. And that's okay. But being kinder to yourself, being gentler to yourself, like just something that I have taken into my 40s. And again, it just comes back to, not feeling rushed, not being perfectionistic, not, trying to be and do all of these things to everybody else, but to be okay with who I am in whatever moment I'm in, right? Because this is the best that I can do, right? And the next moment I might be better, but right now, this is it. So that's definitely something I've taken into this decade, and certainly we'll be bringing that forward into the next one. We are almost there. We are at number two of the things that I've started doing in my 40s. And number two is asking for what I want. I am not or have not been someone who historically has been comfortable asking for help, asking for permission, asking for anything. It's just not been a part of my personality, not a part of my history or experience. And what you learn is, and what I thought by not asking for help, it was helping other people. I didn't want to bother other people, right? So if I'm not bothering you, I'm helping you. And what that does is that it limits your relationships with people. It limits your ability to be vulnerable, right? Which means it limits your relationships. And it's a reminder that you are not superwoman, right? You are not super gal or super girl or super person. You're a human being. But with that in mind, because asking for things was not something that was common to me or something that I did often, I had to practice, and I'm still practicing, y'all. I'm still practicing of how to ask for help, right? Asking for what I want as well, instead of just getting what someone gives me, right? Because, I can ask you for what I want and you can again tell me no, because we talked about no before, and it's going to be fine. It's okay. But for me, that's a confidence builder and a confidence booster for myself in that I advocated for myself and I asked for what I want. And I wasn't worried about if it bothered somebody or if it was an issue. And what I learned is that people are always wanting to help you because I've helped other people, right? I've helped. And so it's just, they were able to pay that back. But for years, like, that's just not something that was very natural to me. It came natural to me. So practicing asking for what I want, asking for what I need, and asking for help. All right. So we are at number one, finally, of the five things that I've started doing in my 40s. And number one, very critical for me in my life, is trusting myself, trusting my intuition, trusting my instincts. And that was hard because I didn't realize for a long time that I didn't trust myself, especially when it came to decisions that I made. Certainly, relationship decisions and business decisions. I used to think, like, because maybe they failed, that it didn't work out, that maybe it was me and I don't know what I'm doing. And so for a long time, that was recording, right? That was the narrative that I had in my head of, I don't know what I'm doing. And for someone that was doing a lot, you would think like, "What do you mean you don't know what you're doing?" But there were certain places in my life where I felt like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not good at this. Maybe I should just stop, right? Maybe I should just quit. And I remember saying that to my therapist that I had at the time, and she just said, "What do you mean you're not good at this? Maybe you should stop." And because again, having this perfectionistic, overachieving type personality, I don't even know if it's personality, but just kind of drive. That was what got in the way of me being able to just trust myself and accept the things that happen. Right? Not every person is your person, relationship wise. Right? Most people aren't your person. Right? Maybe they're your person for a few minutes, maybe your person for a few years, and maybe they're not your person at all ever. Right? And it's okay if they aren't. When it came to me in terms of entrepreneurship and career, when I failed or didn't make the money I thought that I would make and all of these other things, I would just really beat myself up about that, right? Because the result was, like I put myself in a tough financial position, right? And that again, because I didn't ask for help, didn't know how to ask for help, now I'm here swimming or drowning rather, and nobody to save me. Well, nobody's saving you because you're not asking nobody for help. But anyway, it's another story. That's back in the last one we talked about. But once I started working on essentially my self-worth, right, and self-esteem and processing, my family history and growing up and all of these things and just kind of society as to why I felt that way, I got to a point where I realized, oh, I trust myself. And it was interesting because it came in a conversation I was having with a really close friend of mine. And I was talking about something that was going on in my life, and she just kind of jumped in and just was concerned, right, about these things that I was telling her. And I thought about it. We talked about it in the moment, and then I thought about it a little bit more because I didn't feel the way she felt. And I was wondering why, and I came back and I said, I understand your concern and I appreciate it and I thank you. I appreciate friends that, you love the fact that your friends can be honest with you and talk to you and, share their opinions. But what I said was that when I was 35 or 36 is when that thing happened. I'm 48, 49, and I trust myself now. Like, I didn't even realize I got to this place where I trust myself and I trust my decisions. And I understand that everything isn't going to be perfect and work out the way that I want, but I trust that I'm able to do this thing, be this person, step out in the world, and that I'm going to be taken care of, right? And that God will take care of me. And that just really settled my soul and my spirit, and just the fact that that revelation came because of the work I had done. So if you have not been in therapy or any coaching or any self-improvement or anything like that or deep prayer, it might be time to get into that in this time of your life, because learning to trust yourself and your instinct, your intuition, the reasons why you're put on this earth is just extremely important. So that for me was a game changer, right? Because I know it's not just about me trusting myself, it's about who I know God designed me to be and trusting Him with my divine design. And there's nothing wrong with me, nothing wrong about me, even though it might not be your jam, might not be your thing. I still trust who God created me to be. So those are my top five things I started doing in my 40s. I hope that this was helpful. I'm curious about what you started doing, or if this has sparked something in you to start processing or doing differently in your journey. If you want more, go ahead and download that Midlife Transition Checklist and go ahead and get that, because I think that's going to help you start adding some new things in your life and maybe taking some away that aren't working for you. That is my time today. Thank you so much. I will see you next time. Bye.